Hey guys, it's Jackson here from Titanic Games, and in this video we're going to be setting up the hunger, thirst, and health for our survival character. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is actually, you'll notice that even though we renamed the blueprint for the survival character, it still says first-person character, and I don't want us to, I guess start the game having to possess this character, right? We're going to use player starts instead, so we'll just delete that guy. We're going to delete this network player start too, just so I can show you how to add one really quick. And all you have to do to add it is just over here in the place in basic, you just drag out a player start, and there it is. Pretty simple. So now when you press play, you will spawn wherever the player start is. Okay. All right, so that's good. Let's see. Next, what we need to do, or what we're going to do, is go into Blueprints, Core, and open up our survival character. Okay. So in here, oops. So what we're going to do in here is add a couple variables. So we'll add a new one that we'll call current hunger. All right, and we'll change this to a float. Can't spell. There we go. So we'll change it to a float. We'll add a couple more, like max hunger, current thirst, max thirst, current health, and finally max health. Okay, perfect. Next, let's go ahead and give these default values. So we'll say 100 by default for all of them. Okay. Last two. And what we'll probably end up doing is setting the current hunger and current thirst to a random value, like within a specific range when the game begins. Okay, so that's pretty easy. We can actually do that right now if we want. So we'll right click and say event begin play. Okay, and on event begin play, we are going to, well, as I said, set these values to random numbers. So we'll set the current hunger. Okay, and then after that we want to set current thirst, not health. I don't know why I did that. Set current thirst. There we go. Set the current thirst. And we're going to set both of them. Yeah. So we'll drag off of the current hunger, say random float in range. Okay, then we'll specify a range for it to start between. I'm going to say, how about we'll start between, let's say 70 and 90. Okay, so it'll pick a value between those two. Same thing here. Random float in range. This time, though, we're going to say 50 to 70. Okay, so thirst will start out a little lower. Okay, so we have this now. We could probably put this into a function just to keep it a little condensed. So we'll right-click with it all selected, say collapse to function, and we'll say randomize hunger and thirst. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. Pretty simple. I'm going to open it up just to straighten out this because I know it always does that. All right, there we go. So we have that done. Next, what we're going to do is, well, we basically, the way the the hunger and thirst is going to work is just once the game begins, it's going to constantly tick down and just always tick down. Like, or just continue to deplete throughout the entire game, right? So how we'll do that is we're going to use a timer. So we'll say set timer by function name. Okay, so we'll set a timer by function name. And now we need to provide the list of parameters here. So the object here, it automatically defaults to self, which is what we want. But just to make it clear to myself, I like to say get a reference to self and plug that into the object. Now the function name needs to be exactly the correct name of whatever function you're using. So let's create a new function here that we will call, let's call deplete hunger. Okay, and then we'll add another one called deplete thirst, not thirst, thirst. There we go. And we'll probably end up adding one more called deplete health, because that'll play a role once hunger and thirst run out. Okay, so we have these functions now. All right, so we can set the name and it will call the associated function. So this one will be our deplete hunger function, And what I actually think we should do is promote this to a variable so that if we ever use it anywhere else, we don't have to worry about misspelling things. Okay, as long as we spell it right in the variable, then it'll be right on all the timers. So we'll promote it to a variable, call this hunger timer name. All right, now the time here is going to be how often that we subtract our hunger. Okay, so we might devise like a formula for this later on how to, basically just say, I want it to take 5 minutes to go from 100 health to 0, and then it would automatically, calculate how much to decrease each time. But for now, we'll just go with basic values. So I'm going to say every 3 seconds we'll lose some health, or not health, hunger, and we're going to say looping. Now we'll promote this to a variable too, so that we can edit it later. So we'll say hunger depletion rate. All right, perfect. And there we go. We have, this is our hunger now, our hunger timer. So we're pretty much going to do the same thing, right? Copy all of this, except we're going to do it for thirst. So this one will be deplete thirst. Okay, we'll right click, promote to a variable, call this thirst timer name. Okay. And then for time, let's say maybe every 5 seconds. All right. Thirst, or like, you usually don't get as dehydrated as quickly as you run out of food. Okay, so we'll promote that to a variable, call this thirst depletion rate. Okay, and did we set that? Oh yeah, I made it 5. Okay, perfect. So there we go. We have now our event begin play and everything. So next, what we'll do really quick, just to kind of like see that it's working, we'll go back out to the content browser and we're going to add a new folder. I'm going to call this UI. Basically, everything related to UI or widgets or that kind of stuff will be in this folder. So we'll open it. I want to right click, and we're going to go to user interface and create a widget blueprint. We'll call this UI underscore game HUD. Okay, open it up, and this is just going to be a really roughly put together thing to see how it works. For now, we'll just add some progress bars. Okay, so I'll add a progress bar here. We'll say set its position to 4040 and set its size X to 400, just so not 4000. Jeez, 400. And since it's going to be, this one will be health, we'll make it red. Okay, so there's our health bar. Okay, we'll rename that like so. We'll add another one out here that again we'll put it at 40, and we'll say 100 for Y. Size X will be 400, and everything else is good. So for this one, since it is our hunger, maybe we'll make it something like yellowish, maybe. I don't know what color hunger bars usually are, but I don't know. Let's go with like a light orange. How about? Okay, and we'll rename that to hunger bar. Okay, now we just need to add one more, and then we can do our bindings. So we'll add this one. Again, say 40, and this will say 160 for position Y, and then size X will be 400. Okay, so they're all pretty even. All right, let's see. Last thing, we'll change. Actually, I think blue is pretty good. Blue is good for thirst. That'll be fine. Okay, so with that done, we can select the first one again. Or, excuse me, let's first rename the progress bar for thirst to thirst bar. Okay, and we'll take our health bar, and we're going to go ahead and create a binding on the percentage. So we're going to say bind, create bind. And now what we're going to do is we need to get a reference to our character so that we can get the health variables. Okay, so what we'll do is add a new variable, call it character ref for character reference, and we'll click the little tab here to select. Let's see, we want a survival character reference. Okay, so make that editable, and then we want to expose it on spawn. And the reason for that is so that when we construct the widget, we can directly plug in our a reference to our character, so then we don't have to ever do any cast even. It's just part of the object constructor. Okay. So, sorry, I didn't even explain what I just did there. We'll take character ref, say get, and we'll say get current, current health. Maybe. No, oh my goodness gracious. We're going to get the current health. There we go. Then we want to get the max health so that we can do some division here. So we'll say float divided by float, plug that in, and hook it up. So there we go. Now we have a percentage. All right, so we can close that one. We'll go back to the designer and set up one for the hunger bar now. So go to percent bind, create binding, do a very similar thing, except obviously this time it's for hunger. So we have our character reference. We're going to say get current hunger, and we want to get our max hunger as well. Again, we'll do a float divided by float to create a percentage, plug that in, and we're good to go. Okay, last one now is the thirst bar. Same thing, create a binding on percent. All right, get the character reference. We'll say get thirst, get current thirst. Okay, and then we'll get max thirst. Oh, that's max health. Make sure you spell right, guys. That's pretty helpful. Okay, we have our thirst. Again, float divided by float. Plug that in, hook it up, and there we are. So next, what we need to do is spawn it on the screen so we can actually see it. So again, we'll do that on begin play. All right, so you know, if you wanted, you could do like a big sequence node here and like, you know, do all these individual things. Actually, yeah, let's do that just to help, you know, help us realize what is going on. So we'll say sequence. You can do it, you know, you don't have to do it this way, but this will just help us stay, I guess, organized. So first thing we want to do is make sure that we randomize these values. Right. Then the next thing that we want to do is we're going to create a widget. Okay, and the widget we're going to create is, you know, we're going to click the class drop down, go down to UI game HUD, and once you add that, you'll see that this character ref variable popped up. So anytime you expose something on spawn, then whenever you try to create it or construct it or spawn something, those exposed variables will show up on the node. Okay, so what we'll do for this is we're going to say self. We're going to get a reference to ourself and pass that through. Okay. Oops. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and promote this to a variable so that we can, you know, use it later on. We'll say game HUD ref. So we have a reference to it, and then we'll take that value and add to the viewport. Perfect. Okay. So then we'll take then number 2, plug that into our timer, and there we go. So we might want to comment this out just saying what it does. Randomizes hunger and thirst on begin play. Okay, so that one's pretty self-explanatory, I guess. This next one will say create the game HUD. Also pretty simple. And then this one is start decreasing hunger and thirst. Okay, so there we have it. There's our, you know, event begin play, how this is all going to start working. Let's see, I'm going to pause the video right here, and then we will set up these functions in a second. All right, so we're back, and now let's go ahead and set up these functions. So we'll do the deplete hunger first. We'll open it up, and what we want to do is okay. So let's go ahead and organize these variables really quick. So what we'll do is we'll select current hunger first, and we're going to go to category, and we're going to type attributes, but then instead of hitting enter right away, we're going to hold shift and click the, I think it's the backslash, to create a vertical bar. Okay, so this creates like a subcategory now. So we'll have an attributes category and then whatever our subcategory is. So we'll say hunger, and now you'll see over here that it just added an attributes category with a subcategory of hunger. So anything related to hunger, we'll move that into there. So hunger timer name, hunger depletion rate. Okay, now we'll do the same thing for our thirst attributes, vertical bar, thirst. Did I spell it right? Yeah, okay. Move all those. And there we go. And then last, I guess, for the health, we'll say attributes, vertical bar, health. This is just a way of staying organized, right? Once, you know, because once we start adding a lot more variables, it'll be, you know, confusing. So might as well give this one something too. So we'll call this one UI. Okay, and then these are probably, we'll add one called camera. Okay, so we have everything organized now. so we can block off what we don't need. Okay, so now back to the function, deplete hunger. Basically what we're going to do is we are going to, every time this fires, we want to subtract some value from our current hunger, and then we want to check if that value has reached 0 or not. All right, if it's reached 0, then we're going to start losing health. All right, because we're now starving essentially. All right, so how we'll do that is we'll drag out, and we want to do a branch eventually, so we'll add that out here. But how we get to this condition is we're going to take our current hunger, like so, and we're going to subtract float minus float. We're going to subtract some value. So right now we'll just leave this at a value of 1, but we're going to promote it to a variable that we will call hunger depletion amount. So basically this will be a variable for how much hunger gets subtracted every time this event fires. So every 3 seconds it will subtract 1. That's how we have this set up right now. So we'll go ahead and do a clamp now, and this will help us keep our values within a specific range. So even if the timer is like continuing to tick and we're at 0, right, it won't like continue to go beyond 0 into the negatives, because we don't want that, because once we, if you eat some food and it adds hunger back on, right, we only want it to get to 0. So I mean, alternatively you could stop the timer when it gets to 0, but we'll go with this method for now, and see how it goes. So for the max, we're going to take max hunger and drag and drop that, and min will be 0. What we'll do here is check if this is less than or equal to 0 and plug that in. All right. And the reason I'm doing less than or equal to is because at least in C++, I don't know that you can compare floats, or compare them as in see if they're equal to a certain value, because floating point are like, they're not, I don't know, there's like weird stuff with it. So we'll just leave it at 0, or like this, because this will work. But anyways, off of false, what we'll do is say set current hunger equal to this clamp value. Okay, and off of true, we'll just do a print string for right now that will basically say starving. Oh no. All right, so yeah, quick reminder again, just what it does. It subtracts a certain amount, clamps it between our specified values here so that it doesn't go beyond or below specific points, and then once it's reached 0, we will start starving and losing health, but as long as it isn't 0, we'll keep subtracting hunger. Okay, so now we're going to do pretty much the exact same thing in the other function. So we can actually take all this, copy it, go into deplete thirst, paste it all, hook it up, and now we just need to swap out some variables. So we'll take hunger depletion amount, delete that for now, reset it to 1, promote it to a variable called thirst depletion amount. Okay, perfect. Now we'll just take our current thirst, drag it to the edge here, and you'll see if you let go, it changes it to the variable that you set. So we'll do max thirst down here. Over here we'll do current thirst again, and there we go. Now we'll change our print string to dehydrated. I think I spelled that right. We'll go with it. All right, so there's that. Perfect. Love it. Awesome. Now, I guess we will technically do the same exact thing now, even for the deplete health function. So we actually go to deplete health. Okay. And yeah, I just copied and pasted everything again. All right. And I guess the first thing, let's change the print string here to you are dead, because once you run out of health, obviously you'll be dead. So we'll set up some kind of death function later, but that'll be fine for now. Okay, so current hunger we'll replace with current health. We'll delete this variable, change it to 1. Actually, let's go with 5. So right click, promote that to a variable now, and we'll say health depletion amount. There we go. All right, so we have health depletion amount. Now we need to change max hunger to max health, and current hunger to current health, like so. Okay, so there we go. Perfect. Love it. That's how we want it. Next, we need to set up the timer to start decreasing our health now. So we'll go back to hunger to start. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a branch. And the reason for this is because we're going to be starting another timer that will start this deplete health, right? But instead of calling, 2 timers, like one for each time, one for hunger running out and one for thirst running out, right? We're just going to call one, and then if one is already running, then we'll just increase the amount of health that gets, that gets depleted each tick. Okay. So to illustrate that, let's go like this. We're going to say is timer active by function name. Plug this in. Now we need to give a function name, so we'll say deplete health. And again, we'll promote this to a variable that we'll call health timer name. Okay. And then for object, we'll say self, just because I like to do that, but you don't have to, again, because it defaults to self. All right. Now, off of true, right, or actually let's do false first. So off of false, we're going to say set timer by function name. Okay. Object will be our self. Function name will be health timer function name. Okay. And then let's do how about every 2 seconds? And then we'll set it to looping. So promote this to a variable again. Call this health depletion rate. So that'll be how fast it depletes. Okay, so we'll set this timer if the timer isn't running, but if it is running, then what we'll do is we'll set health depletion amount, not rate, amount, because this is how much gets subtracted every time it ticks, or every time the timer fires. We'll set it equal to our hunger depletion amount minus, or not minus, what am I doing? Times, let's do a float times float, and we'll just multiply it by 2. Okay, now you could convert, you could make this a factor or a variable too, if you want to add more, I guess, RPG-esque elements to your survival game, right? You could have maybe some skill traits that like lower the amount of depletion, whatever, or the multiplier, I mean, but we'll just stick with this. Okay, so there we go. This is everything we need. We'll take it all again, copy it, go to deplete thirst, and do the same thing off of this, off of the print string. Okay, the only thing we need to change now is these 2 values here. So we'll take our thirst depletion amount, replace that. Perfect. So compile and save. All right, and we should be able to test this out now and see if it works. So we press play. You see it started us with random values. And now, if you watch the screen, you'll notice that it starts subtracting. So, okay, so, oh, there we go. So the thirst one is going down very slow, but it is going down. Now we just need to check if the health one works. So what we'll do for that is we'll just increase our depletion amount like crazy. We'll say something like 20. Okay. Same thing for this guy, 20. Press play. So every time it ticks, it should subtract a lot. Okay, and we'll see if our health works yet, or if we have any errors. All right. Moment of truth. Oh no, we're starving. Okay, so there we go. So every 2 seconds. Okay, well, geez, now it's subtracting a lot. You are dead now. Okay. So a couple little issues, I guess, that we ran into there that we'll address in the next video. Yeah, we'll just address it in the next video. So we have most of it working. We'll fix up everything in the next video. And yeah, so let's just, last thing, we'll just move these variables where they belong. So hunger goes to hunger. Thirst goes to thirst. Health goes to health. And there we go. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video.